Oh, hey, what's up, dog? No, I'm just paying my bills.
Hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf! The year is 1985. The title of the film, Teen Wolf. Now, this was rated PG, and it is 92 minutes in runtime. By the way, who was the director?
Glad you asked. Teen Wolf is directed by a gentleman named Rob Daniel. We looked into it. Didn't really do much else. It did Beethoven's Second, Home Alone 4. That was a disaster. Yeah, so not much else. Starring Michael J. Fox. We went through the rest of the cast as well. I mean, a lot of TV credits on there, but nothing else of note in the cinema world. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what this movie's about? I haven't seen this movie since probably the early 90s, so fill me in on what I need to know about this movie before we give it a go.
Well, it's actually a story about, a high school kid. He's on a lousy basketball team, got a horrible coach, lame duck coach. The prettiest girl doesn't notice him. And he's pretty much going through puberty and finds out he's like a man hybrid wolf thing. So we're going to find out what it is. Great 80s feel. Before we get right into this, is there anything you need to add?
We've got a montage.
Teen Wolf, we just completed it, and I'm glad we did.
It's a great flick. Lots to like about it.
Lot to like about it.
Let's talk about that. What do you like about that movie?
Well, I mean, for starters, it was an 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a different feel to the 80s.
There really is.
The bad guys are meaner.
Yeah, if you were born in the 90s or the 2000s at this point, do yourself a favor and just kind of sink into some 80s flicks and get that feel, and you'll understand what we're talking about.
I mean, Michael J. Fox ruled the 80s,
Really
especially this year, because in 85, the #1 grossing film,
Back to the Future. Oh, man. But let's talk about Teen Wolf.
what'd you like about it?
Love the characters. Anytime I come out of a movie and you remember names of characters, like more than just the main character, and what was his name?
Styles.
Styles.
Well, yeah.
Not the main character, but
Scott.
Styles in this movie. Scott Howard is the main character. Styles in this movie
So cool.
killed it. Yeah, he was the cool in the movie.
His comedy was a lot of physical
Yeah.
stuff, a little Chevy Chase style.
Yeah.
He was great.
Dick Nose.
He had a t-shirt on that said, "What are you looking at, Dick Nose?" Black shirt, red belt, turquoise pants.
Why not?
Character.
It was the 80s.
It was PG, but you know what? It felt like a PG-13.
There's a scene in this movie where they're at a party and there's a guy and a girl handcuffed together behind the back, covered in whipped cream in their underwear. PG movie.
Getting down.
Who'da thunk?
There were Jays getting down in this.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't know what that was.
No, nobody did. No, I mean,
You had to point it out to me.
not when we were like 3 years old.
We have to talk about the practical effects in this. The
Yes.
first transformation scene
Yep.
wasn't that great. And why was it great? I'll tell you, and then maybe you can agree or disagree or
Okay.
add more. But the thought that went into it, there's no CGI.
No.
It took time. You can tell. We didn't get a lot of it, but what little that was there was phenomenal. The 80s were huge with wolves, like American Werewolf in London, although I think that was late 70s. But The Howling, all those movies, it was just awesome. But this was a great scene.
You talk about that scene, you talk about practical effects. If you watch enough of our reviews, you're going to come to learn that I love practical effects. I don't care if they look cheesy. It's practical. Like, someone had to think to make that happen. And it just...
We salute that.
Yeah, like his eyebrows are popping out and
Yeah.
stuff.
You
moving
know that
beneath
took a
the
lot of
skin.
time.
You can see the makeup lines, but who cares?
Yeah.
It looked great. In 2016, it looks good still. I give it a solid B+ makeup work for this movie.
No doubt.
Awesome flick.
One thing that was in this was a little bit of product placement. 58 minutes in, we saw our first can of RC Cola.
That's true.
Okay, obviously we were born during this year, but people that were born maybe mid 90s,
Mhm.
late 90s, 2000s, do you recommend this movie for them?
I think they could.
Why?
I think they could still get down with this movie, with the understanding of like it's got the '80s feel to it. And if you're looking for some '80s nostalgia a little bit, Teen Wolf is a great place to go to. Yeah,
I think with Michael J. Fox, that's enough for people to see it who are serious about it. Do you need to own this in your library? If you're building a library of sorts, does this need to be on the shelf?
If I found it for a good price, I think I'd pick it up. I think I'd
Okay.
pick this one up. It's not like a must own, like a go out and get it right now. But
But the
keep
price
your
is
eyes
right, throw it
peeled.
in there.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
let's give it. By the way, rewatchability.
Yeah, I'd watch this movie again.
Me too. Let's go with let's
Absolutely.
go with our grades.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Full on B.
Solid B. Yeah, like we said,
Proof's in the pudding.
not a must own, but probably should pick it up if you find it for a decent price.
Well,
Anyway, how'd this movie treat you?
you know, it was good. The only thing I was a little cold during the movie, a little chilly.
Yeah, we can talk. I mean, we can talk about that next time. Maybe.
Yeah, but how did you do?
Didn't really bother me. I mean, I was quite toasty.